And now let's go into really kind of one of the two really big music news stories of this week.
Yes.
We had, I don't know, maybe this is like a Me 2.0, at least in the music world.
In the music world, for sure. We've had a lot of allegations of abuse, a lot of people coming out. We had the Chris Brown story last week.
No, last week was Chris Brown. Got T.I. and
sorry.
We talked about Chris Brown.
We did talk about Chris, yeah, exactly. That's why, because then partnering up with them, partnering up with another little bitch.
Tory Lanez, Daystar Peterson.
Yeah, going
yeah.
So,
but a lot of these stories are coming up of abuse as it relates to the music industry, and it's similar like a Me Too fashion that was happening in like 2017.
Exactly, and it's coming out a lot, and this is one of the biggest ones to come out. Which big name actress Evan Rachel Wood, she accuses Marilyn Manson of a shit ton of abuse, which doesn't surprise anybody.
Surprises literally
no one.
It's not just Evan Rachel Wood, it's 4 other women who kind of came out about their events and interactions with Marilyn Manson to an article in Variety. And it's a lot of graphic stuff we'll kind of touch upon to get in here, but it's basically going on to how I'll just read part of the statement.
Yeah,
the name of my abuser is Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson. He started grooming me when I was a teenager and horrifically abused me for years. I was brainwashed and manipulated into submission. I am done living in fear of retaliation, slander, or blackmail. I'm here to expose this dangerous man and call out the many industries that have enabled him before he ruins any more lives. I stand with the many victims who will no longer be silent. It's interesting because Wood has talked about her history as a survivor of sexual violence to Congress, mentioning the instances of Marilyn Manson, but just not mentioning him by name. And back then there were, they announced, so Wood and Manson announced their relationship in January 2007. They were engaged in 2010, but then called off the relationship the same year. There's a lot that could go into. I don't think it's like worth it to go into all the details, but it's a lot of the main thing that's there. There was grooming, a lot of manipulation, and a lot of not just like emotional abuse in that sense, but there's physical abuse as well.
It's pretty bad, yes.
Yeah. Going through that, so Marilyn Manson kind of responds, and we do these stories enough to where you can almost see the patterns of how these things go. So Marilyn Manson calls the allegations a, quote, horrible distortion of reality. Let me see.
Interesting way to put it.
As is always done, these things are Instagram note posts. And it's basically, obviously my art and my life have long been magnets for controversy, but these recent claims about me are horrible distortions of reality. My intimate relationships have always been entirely consensual with like-minded partners. Regardless of how and why others are now choosing to misrepresent the past, that is the truth. So, of course, you get like a huge, like, out categorical denial. So then, as we do on the show, there's the allegations come out. There's the guy who doesn't usually denying it. And so now the ball's in the court of the larger music industry to see how the response goes. And so far, as you're saying.
Yeah, so I know his label dropped him, I believe, and he got barred from a bunch of stuff and acts from like TV shows and other things, I believe.
Yeah, going to that, I think like shortly afterwards, Loma Vista Recordings announced that they terminated the relationship with Marilyn Manson. So they apparently had another album that was at least in the works under their contract. They're not going to do that anymore. They just said that they declined to decide to not work with Marilyn Manson on any future projects, which is likely a smart thing to do. Marilyn Manson was also working on, I believe, 2 TV series.
Something like that, yeah.
One was American Gods, which it was a Starz series where he would have been the frontman of a Viking death metal band called Blood Death. So it's apparently like a sort of semi-mockumentary kind of thing with real people starring in it. So he's not going to be in that. Starz was like, we're not doing that. And then he was going to be on a show called Creep Show on, I can't make this up, AMC's new streaming platform. So In addition to the many other hits AMC has taken as a company, more on that later, it's looking like they are not going to have Marilyn Manson on that episode of that show.
Yeah. So this time, at least, people are taking the right stances. Labels are doing the right things. Music industry is doing the right thing for at least for a little bit of it. And this is a very interesting one. With that.
Yeah, members of the music industry are doing some of the right things about it. Where Trent Reznor kind of gets in front of things and saying he denounces Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails person, and also noted for kind of just being around in the music industry more broadly as it was growing in the aughts.
Because I think they signed him to his label, I'm pretty sure, when he first started. Marilyn Manson to his label.
Yeah. He signed him, he was like a mentor, signed the band to their label, produced their first 2 studio albums, and invited them to open for Nine Inch Nails to tour. Manson accused Reznor of destroying the band's masters, and Reznor said that excessive use of drugs and alcohol had turned Manson into a, quote, dopey clown. And now with the allegations, Reznor said that, quote, I've been vocal over the years about my dislike of Manson as a person, and I cut ties with him nearly 25 years ago. Jesus. As I said at the time, the passage from Manson's memoir is a complete fabrication. I was infuriated and offended back when it came out, and remains so today. And there was the passage they're referring to in question is a particularly sexually graphic passage in Manson's memoir where he is describing a sex act that he and Trent Reznor apparently participated in. And yeah, Trent Reznor back then said, that's gross. There's no way I would be doing that. And fuck you for putting my name on that. So at least that's the side that's there. Maybe there's a possibility that did truly happen and Manson's telling the truth with Reznor and Reznor's trying to cover his ass. But at least Reznor has been on the record for a long time and trying to distance himself from Manson, and Manson has done no help for himself, because a lot of times Marilyn Manson was used by the right wing in the United States as kind of to use
the scapegoat.
A scapegoat to scare conservatives, saying oh, this is the moral panic of our age. Before they could use violent video games to say this is what's wrong with our kids, it was Marilyn Manson.
Blamed him for a lot of school shootings and other stuff that was happening in the 90s.
Yeah, and a lot of that was unfair because just he's a shock jock rock artist, but it's a performance on stage, and he's at times surprisingly well versed when he's speaking about regular political issues. But you then of course see instances like this and you see the full character of that person.
Yes.
And again, Marilyn Manson already is not doing himself favors with the presentation that he has for doing these kinds of things. So sucks to suck. But like you said, it's good that the music industry seems to be handling this the proper way for once.
Yeah, they need to handle other people better. So,